All right, we're officially 1 minute out from our kickoff, and I'm so excited to meet everybody. What's up? We're gonna have a pretty interactive session today. I'm not, really into talking at people very much. So the more you participate, obviously, the more you'll get out of it, because I'm basically gonna devote a bit of the session to asking how the heck you're doing and trying to respond to that directly rather than making assumptions or speaking in generalizations. So go ahead and fire up your chat, and I'd love to just get everyone let's practice. Where are you coming from? Hi from Brooklyn, by the way. The weather is finally getting nice out. I spent a solid amount of the weekend planting stuff, like crazy flowers in my garden, and it was incredibly gratifying. Where's everyone coming from? Westchester, nice. Great to have you here. Yeah, Liana, I miss Manhattan. We were just chatting about that the other day. Do love it there. I'm going to be frantically admitting people because of Zoom's wonderful security settings here. So let's see, today I'll kind of give us a high level agenda, and I'll do that again as soon as people really start pouring in here in a minute. But I'm going to actually spend part of today sharing pretty vulnerably about my own story. So I am really happy to answer literally any questions that you guys have about me or my experience or my current career. But also, I am also really interested to hear about what brought you here today. And if you have what we call in FEMS, we always have sort of a section devoted to burning questions, TM, not actually trademark, but if you have a burning question today, please just, or maybe get the wheels turning and see if one comes up over the course of the session today, and just pop it in the chat. Even if I don't have time to get around to it, I promise, pinky swear, I will go back through the chat transcript and email you and see if I can be helpful. So basically, I am here because I am completely on fire with this mission. I've learned so much in the last 6 years about how to have a happy, fulfilling life and career. And basically my whole hope and vision for you guys here this week is that you get to get as much of that wisdom condensed into as like a very efficient package as possible. So I will be trying to teach like at a blistering speed everything I possibly can teach in 4 hours, right? So 1 hour each day for the next 4 days, that kind of get at the pillars of what we approach in Fearless Femmes. I really want to make it accessible to everybody, and I will turn myself inside out in an effort to help you learn from it, integrate it, and sort of demystify any questions that you might have. So what brings you here? I want to, if you're down to share, why are you here today? And then I'll get into why I'm here today, just so everyone knows where we are in the, go ahead and enter into the chat. What's, why here? Was it a promote, like the promise of a promotion? Is it, and like, the teachings about how we do that in FEMS? Is it feeling a little bit disillusioned with your career? Is it interest or intrigue at the concept of carving your own path? Pretty big deal, right? What's your flavor? What brought you here today? Just go ahead and pop it in the chat. I've got my awkward silence water bottle here, so I'll wait. I got us on gallery view right now, but just because I wanted to see everybody and say hi, but I'll come into focus in a minute. Go ahead and share, folks. I'd love to hear from you. To get inspired? Hell yeah, I will deliver that. Wanting to find more enjoyment, less stress. That kind of is the, like, if I could, that's an excellent summation of, I think, what most people are here to do today. That's really beautifully put. Gwen, you feeling stress in your body after a big restructuring at work and reimagining, rediscovering what that future career path will look like. That's excellent, beautifully put. And I hope that you guys stick around for our upcoming sessions. Today, obviously, is really focused on breaking rules and re-envisioning our career paths. But tomorrow we talk a lot about the body and the nervous system and how that is instrumental to executive presence, confidence, all the stuff that we're looking to feel, right? That's very literal. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, working harder than male counterparts. So we've got some systemic bias and injustice that is absolutely critical that we acknowledge. Um, and Renee, yeah, like what an awesome wing woman writing on a road trip for on behalf of Renee. So Renee is here because you want to know what kind of discover what kind of job you want to have next. That's beautiful. So you're really envisioning carving out that path. Lots of diverse reasons here. Got some stuckness, burnout. Oh yes, is it me? Oh, Sarah, that like just lands right like in my heart. In part because I'll share in just a minute. I was basically positive that I was not cut out, not just for product management, but like literally any part of the working world. I really had a solid couple of years there where literally all of the evidence had amounted, and it was all the evidence, of course, that I was selectively looking at to reinforce this story of I'm like, where do I belong? I don't belong anywhere, right? Which is really weird because
I don't have any updates right now.
Oh, sorry, guys. Could you just make sure that you're all muted? Oh, there we go. I can do it. Perfect. So just to kind of a little bit about my story and why I'm here, just to kick us off today, then I promise we'll get into talking about values and creating a really powerful vision statement for your life. So by the time you leave here today, you will have this document in hand that is a workable version of like you envisioning how your career is going to fit into your life. So your homework, should you choose to accept it, is to refine it this evening and bring it back tomorrow for a little bit of reflection. But that's where we're headed today. But I really just, my goal here for this series of workshops, more than anything, is to foster a sense of belonging and nurture and cultivate a relationship with each and every one of you. And the way that I tend to do that, my personal style, is just to like share pretty much everything about how I got here. For those, anyone, raise your hand if you read or watched my video about getting fired from literally every job I've ever had. Yeah, maybe that's what brought some of you here, because it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that out loud on the internet. But it was sort of funny, I, as I sort of mentioned in the video, I was a B+ student for most of my, literally my entire academic career, all through college. Didn't really find myself intrinsically motivated to be a high achiever at school, despite the fact that I really knew and had a pretty firm self-identity as a high achieving human, right? Yet this ubiquitous evaluation system was giving me this message over and over and over again that I was B+, that I would only this was the thing, this was the number that was going to basically shape my future capabilities, right? And here I was kind of a combination of unmotivated and maybe wondering if I was actually capable of achieving more, achieving at the highest level. And as I mentioned in that video, that story really just followed me into my early product career as well. And so it was a huge a bunch of things had to happen. And basically this is what is shaping the next 4 days of content that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today, and the tools that I'm going to be imparting on you. There was 4 big lessons that I had to learn the hard way and integrate and heal from over the course of about 6 years, that now is going to form the scaffolding for the next 4 days together, but also forms, and when we go in a little deeper, the scaffolding for the 6-month experience that the Fearless Femme, some of whom are here today, hi guys, use in the program. And so I know that this works. It's a process that I've been using for years, and over 120 femmes in product have also put it to work too. So it's been something that's iterated on, and I'm really, really confident that you guys will get a ton out of it. So I'm really, really excited you're here. So as you know, as I mentioned, I was fired from every job I ever had. And the question here is now, how did I get from point A to point B? And today, what I'm going to start off and kick off today talking about are the rules that I had to break to arrive here. Because one thing that was definitely obvious by the time I, got fired from my last product job is that following the rules had never gotten me the results that I was looking for. No matter how hard I tried, even when I really did put my all into something, I somehow never got the A+. I somehow never got the promotion. I never got the validation that I was looking for. And that really shaped my own personal identity as a as a little bit of a black sheep, right? A little bit of a feeling of being an outcast or someone who didn't belong. Now, what's kind of funny is that I have a bunch of friends, colleagues, and clients who are a little bit on the other side of that equation. It's people who actually have followed all of the rules, and it's worked out tremendously well for them, to the point that they have gotten so much success by people pleasing and doing what other people expect of them, both from a like sociological perspective, a cultural perspective, that the idea of carving their own path is completely terrifying and almost paralyzing, right? You've had such success with this one way of doing things that the idea of abandoning that strategy is really scary, really, really reasonable, right? And so I'm actually kind of curious who's here today. Like, who's a black sheep like me? Like you tried and tried and tried your whole life, and no matter what you did, you never got the validation you were looking for. Say a black sheep, maybe go bah, or like a sheep emoji in the chat, whatever, or just your hand here. I'm really curious how many folks we have. And then also, if you're kind of a role player, like you, I don't know, I lovingly call you goody two shoes, right? As black sheep, I'm like, oh God, it's so easy for them, right? But of course, the amazing thing about people pleasing, as I'm sure you all know, is that when we succeed so much at something that doesn't feel ours, what happens? It's imposter syndrome, right? Like, I mean, that's when we feel like we've been so successful at something that like we don't actually identify with. It's not really our true nature. It's not our true desires. We wonder, like, we start to really question reality about whether or not we belong there at all. So both of us, right? All of us, whether we're kind of on that more on that black sheep trajectory or more on the people pleasing trajectory, have this same issue that unites all of us about being really afraid to envision what it is that we want for our own careers and our own lives. And you know, for somewhat different reasons and different, you know, we carry different scars and baggage around it, but we're all here for the same reason, which is to dare to imagine what our career could look like if we actually got everything that we wanted, right? And dared to ask ourselves that question. So that's sort of what we're going to get kicked off today in doing. Let me just check my notes here to make sure that I've got my whole checklist here, because I, despite being a black sheep, still have checklists, and make sure we've got everyone admitted. All right, fabulous. Okay, so I'm curious, who here is looking to get a promotion? Anyone like gotten a promotion recently and it felt like how was that for you? I'm actually curious if you wouldn't mind sharing in the chat. Did you was it a goal that you accomplished and then you felt like you arrived? And you're like, oh my God, I got it. Everything's amazing. It's perfect. I have everything I want. Or did it just blow past you like a on the highway? Sorry, was someone speaking up?
I guess like looking back, I pivoted from project management into product management at my work, at my startup. So I guess in a way I didn't really celebrate it at the time because I just wanted to keep moving forward and level up myself again.
Yeah, totally. So it's one of those things where pretty much whether we plan for it or not, this is so cliche, but it's enjoying the journey really becomes our job, right? If everything that we achieve kind of just like, I don't know, it's not like we sit there basking in the accomplishment, at least not most of the time, right? Maybe we experience pleasure from that sense of validation in the moment, but it doesn't last, right? The goalpost suddenly just keeps moving. So we might have experienced this phenomenon, and maybe some of you might resonate with this. Who's feeling kind of exhausted by feeling like they're on like this hamster wheel? Maybe put a hamster emoji in the chat or something, right? It's like somehow the waterline keeps rising, no matter how high you get, like no matter how much external validation you get, somehow like it's almost impossible to reference how you felt 10 years ago when being where you are currently would be beyond your wildest dreams. It's always about what's next, right? And so what we're here to do in large part today is and this is easier said than done, is really reflecting on our internal desires about what we want. And rather than, I'm actually curious, another question, anyone feel like they rely too much on external validation? Like there's an imbalance here. I would be, if you don't feel like you rely too much on external validation, like I'm going to put you in a science lab because we need to study you. It's one of those things that our culture has gone above and beyond on making us feel not enough and instilling a sense of doubt that our own instincts about what enough is or doing well is are completely wrong and not to be trusted. Right. So, I mean, we are the product of our culture to some degree, and we absolutely get to overcome some of that conditioning to arrive at this place where we actually can ask for what we want and go break it down and go get it and then enjoy it when we have it. Right. So all things that are really hard, and we'll get into the rules that keep us from doing that in a minute. So one of the things that I really like to do, because I actually want to kind of get us all together before I dive into the content and we start, like doing our learning together. I want everyone to just like arrive. Now that probably everyone's here at this point. Mira. I'll go ahead and mute everybody. There we go. I know that we all have got a bunch of lives happening, unfolding in our Zoom backgrounds right now. But let's all come together for just a minute. And if I want to invite you to close your eyes. And I'll invite you also, if you're up to it, to kind of like drop into your body just a little bit and feel your feet on the floor. This is like the ultimate trick for executive presence, by the way. When you feel really grounded, our bodies are so literal, and our presence and our energy really starts to reflect that stability, right? That the unfuck with ability, as I like to call it in Fearless Femmes. And I want you to just breathe out from wherever your breath is. And don't take a super deep breath, just kind of like breathe normally, but kind of feel that breath expanding that chest and that belly. And I want you to just move in a way that makes you feel good. That's the absolute only requirement. Maybe you don't move at all because you're really happy where you are. That is okay. I know for me, my neck has been acting up a little bit lately. And I just want you guys to appreciate for a second how pleasurable that feels. You just asked yourself how you wanted to move, and you did it, and you enjoyed it. That's it. That's all I wanted to do to get us started today. I do want us to really look at the reason why I put us all in gallery view to start. This is a workshop where actually most of you have been following my work for a long time. This was a special invitation to people who are on my newsletter and who I have a sort of existing relationship with, even if it's from afar. And I just want you guys to soak in and imagine this circle of femmes in product and in tech who are experiencing the same challenges and the same struggles. Universally, 100% of the time, one of the things that gets called out in Fearless Femmes as like the most amazing experience is that first call where they look around and say, oh my God, all these femmes have their shit together in such a major way. And like, they're so successful and so smart. And yet they feel the same way I do. And that belonging is probably one of the most confidence inspiring experiences that we have. And I want you to just be open to it and feel it right now, like let it in just a little bit, whatever that means to you. Because we are all here together and co-creating this future together and seeing the faces and the words of all these people that are here with us today. It's going to be a really beautiful journey over the next 4 days, and I hope you all stick with it. All right, so quick agenda for today, because we all like to know where this is going. So, everyone see my screen okay? Okay, cool. It should be big. So if it's not big, let me know. It should be on speaker view. Just hit me in the chat if you're having trouble. You might have to hit focus on my window. So, and actually, let me just pull up the chat 1 second. I just lost that window. Just to make sure I can see everybody. Okay, so for our agenda for today, first we're going to identify the rules that we have to break if we want to get the promotion we actually want. Next, we're going to go do a quick exercise to elicit our own values and desires. This will be kind of like a quick and dirty version of the really intense one that we do in FEMS. And then we're going to break off into breakout rooms at the end in pairs. And based on the criteria and sort of building blocks of a really successful vision statement that I'm going to teach you today, we're going to have you actually author together in pairs collaboratively a workable vision statement about how your career fits into your life. So you will walk out of here with a vision statement, just in case you've been, waiting until things settle down or until you feel super inspired to carve out time to do this. You're going to do it today. And of course, in case you're coming here late or this is your first time with a workshop with me, hate talking at people, love talking with people. So any question that I ask you is not rhetorical. I would love for you to answer in the chat, and feel free if you have a question or if something's not clear, just pop a chat or pop the question into the chat, and I will do my best to answer. And Priyanka, I just want to say, like, hell yeah, having this big goal for the year to stop people pleasing for external validation is really amazing. Basically, what this whole program, this 4 workshop series is going to be about, is about how to cultivate internal validation. That is what you're going to get at the end of this 4 workshop series. It's obviously a pretty big endeavor. Otherwise, we would just do it all the time, right? That'd be really nice. But there's a lot of reasons that get in the way of us cultivating this internal validation. And it's enough to fill up 4 workshops. So that's what we're going to be doing. And that's my hope for you guys to get out of this. All right. So thinking about the rules that I broke when I was figuring out what the hell to do with my life, right? So again, just to recap, in case you just got here, at this point, I am 28 years old. I have gotten B+ throughout my entire academic career, tried to go the med school route, bless my heart, because it was a path and everyone said that it was a good path. And I knew that society would approve of this path. It was so safe. Never mind that it made me miserable. Like that, we'll deal with that later, right? Most important was that I got approval from other people. I, at that point, I'll skip over a little bit of this transition, but I sort of tripped and fell where the wind blew me and ended up in product management kind of by accident. My network surfaced a role for me in San Francisco. I took it, didn't really know what product management was at the time, but I did my best. I had 3 product roles in-house, each of them working for a pretty major jerk. Don't know if anyone can relate to that. Wasn't now, of course, in hindsight, I look back and I'm like, wow, I was not set up for success in any of these roles. I didn't have a ton of guidance or mentorship. The product organizations were just like a mess. No one was really set up for success. And I didn't have any real models to rely on but to keep me sane, right? I spent a ton of this phase of my career wondering if it was me. Like, why am I not successful? I got fired from all 3 of those jobs. Know why? Because when you're a black sheep and you try and don't get the response that you're looking for, you assume that it's you. And from a place of hurt and self-preservation, I started to withdraw, right? I got really resentful even. Don't know if anyone, again, like this might be really tender territory here, so be really gentle with yourself. But ask yourself how much resentment you're feeling right now, you're holding on to right now about the environments, so, we might call them toxic even, that you've been part of in the past and might be subjected to right now, right? Ultimately, a big part of this dysphoria that we experience is, in some ways, it is resentment. And of course, the quality of my work suffered. So I hit rock bottom. Like I got to this point after I got fired from the 3rd job. Yeah, technically it was a layoff, but it was definitely still got fired. I was in this position where I had to ask myself and reevaluate all the rules that I'd been following up until this point. Like there was no going back and continuing to follow these rules. So my hope for you is that you don't have to hit rock bottom to have to like learn the hard way about how to break these rules and what it looks like to break them. Instead, I'm just going to call them out for you, and we'll do a little bit of investigation into them, into how they're showing up in your life. So here are the rules that I broke in sequence. Number 1 was this rule that if you're working really hard, that means you're doing it right. That means that it's going to work out, right? And just if we have a problem or a challenge or a struggle or something's not working out, if we just work harder, then we're gonna push through it, right? So of course, when I was following this rule, here I was being a B+ human, I was working harder and harder and feeling like I couldn't work any harder, and almost resigning myself to this belief that no matter how hard I worked, like my work just wasn't good enough, right? I didn't have any gas left in the tank. And so it was this idea of like, this was the really gnarly one. And maybe you guys relate to this. I'm actually curious. Who here has kind of a secret belief that they're lazy, right? Because if you're working really hard, you'll get what you're owed, what you're due, right? And so obviously you must be, in my own like brutal inner monologue, I was just a lazy piece of shit, right? And if I, clearly I don't have what it takes. I'm not cut out for it, right? So what did it look like to break rule number one? It actually was when I started working for myself, right? Again, I got fired. So in some ways, but I had a great network. So I started consulting, right? Part of what I found in this, like through this process, was a refusal to work for another asshole. Pardon my French, by the way. I forgot to warn you guys at the beginning. I swear moderately, so put on headphones. Got kids around, and so breaking rule number one for me looked like, cool, I'm never going to work for anybody again who is a jerk or who cares about butts in seats and the optics of working hard rather than actually doing what is strategic, which is working smart. Right? I only wanted to do what I enjoyed. And, the way that this actually unfolded was hilarious. I sat my now husband down at the time. We'd only been dating for a little while. And I was like, Matt, I just want to make a good living talking about feelings. And I burst into tears because this was before Brene Brown was really around and being like a big influence, especially at work. Could you imagine anything more preposterous than getting paid money to talk about feelings, especially at work? Oh my goodness. So for me, this was really about like letting go, almost by like, I just had to brute force this part because I didn't feel like I had any other options. I had to ask how rather than if I could make a living doing what I actually enjoyed doing. And it was because I just had run out of any other options, right? And so, as you mentioned, pleasure being the compass is a radical idea. And this is part of what we'll get really deep into this tomorrow in our working session. Pleasure is the most radical act of resistance that we have. Women and femmes in particular, people socialized as women, are actively shamed for experiencing pleasure. We fetishize hard work. Right. And if this is a phenomenon called human giver syndrome in the science of stress, where if we're not giving 110% of our energy, mind share, bodies, creativity, everything to others, then we are failing at being a woman. Right. Really, really deeply ingrained shame around pleasure. So I actually am pretty good at pleasure in the rest of my life. So this was part of my talent and part of what a gift that I now share with the world. Once I was able to heal this bit, I was able suddenly once I healed some of the shame around this, I was able to pretty quickly identify what it was that I enjoyed, right? And so you get to identify the things in your life that you enjoy. This is what breaking rule number one really looks like. And you get to make it the cornerstone of whatever it is that you design and architect in your life. Rule number two, I bet many of you can resonate with this one. If you say no or set a boundary, you're a bitch. This is a brutal one. It's one that we encounter a lot in our work environments. It's the thing that the main thing that's at the heart of when I coach people on negotiations, right? The fear 100% of the time is that they aren't going to like me, or they're going to think I'm a bitch, or they're going to basically just disapprove, right? And that fear, a very reasonable fear, by the way, a very adaptive thing to be afraid of, because again, we do live in a world that's not designed to promote women, not designed to give us what we ask for. It's a really, really deeply ingrained rule. So what does it look like to break this? Ruthless prioritization. So really it's saying no to almost everything, right? Another really radical act that we'll get into later in this series. To be a to be a leader who advances the fastest, what do you have to do, right? You need to do things that are most high leverage, which means they get you the most bang for buck. Minimum effort for maximum reward. That's all strategy is, right? And so to rise quickly, we want to be taking every unit of our energy and applying it only to things that are going to get us the most mileage towards our goals, right? And say no to literally everything else. Really, really intense way to approach this. It's one of the main things that we coach folks on and that we will get into on day 4 of this workshop is exactly how to do this. It's called the collaborative no. Rule number 3 is a deeply held belief that we owe something to them. Anyone, either currently or in the past, sticking around at a role because you feel guilty leaving? Really, really common one that we see in femmes. Even when you, like every rational thought, we've gone through all the paces for why it is best for everyone for you to leave. Most importantly, you. The idea that you owe something to them, right? Which then of course actually comes with a little bit of a belief that they owe something to you, right? This idea that they'll take care of you, which is, as well, as many of us know, is not usually the case, right? Again, relationships are amazing and beautiful and nuanced, but as a rule, believing that that companies, organizations have any sense of loyalty to us as individuals is like a pretty dangerous mode of operating, right? This is not to say that you should distrust everybody or be cynical, but really just removing this idea that we're entitled to anything, right? So what breaking this rule looks like is acknowledging your own agency as well as the agency of the organizations to do what's best for them, right? Like if I'm not performing, they have complete agency to let me go. I'm not entitled to their understanding on this, right? Nor are they entitled to my understanding. So I'll just pause here for a second before we get into you taking some steps to break these rules. Any questions about these rules, or maybe there's a rule that I didn't come up with here. I'm sure this is not completely complete. This is really based on my experience. Any rules that you feel like you want to break? I'll give it a minute. Or questions about the rules that I talked about here. Feel free to type or speak up.
I think one of the rules is extra scary for me, which is not working hard, but working smart, because I almost feel like it's like, it seems strange to say this, but I almost feel like I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't know how to be smart about things. Like, I always feel like people are a lot more strategic than I am. And then I just feel kind of stupid. So I'm like, I don't know where people get the skill to do that even. So that one was like a scary one for me.
Yeah, I really appreciate that vulnerability. And that's like, when we think of why, or all of the experiences that kind of are the underpinnings of some of that difficulty for you, we think about like when we think of strategy, right? When we think of a brilliant strategist, we think of kind of hard charging white guys like Steve Jobs, right? Like you have to be some kind of brilliant dictator, right? Someone who's so much more talented or brilliant or whatever, because we've been socialized with those images, right? So it makes a ton of sense that we would feel like we don't belong, right? Again, we are operating in a world that is not designed to promote us. So of course it sounds scary, right? Especially if you're a people pleaser or someone who, like me, was constantly just seeking this validation, desperately asking for it and seeking it, right? We think that if we just show that how hard we're working, then we'll get rewarded for it, right? So again, this is about like this vast swath of the unknown about what happens if we work smart instead of hard. And this idea that we can't is a self-preservation mechanism. So I really want to be like super self-compassionate about this. It's not just that you're missing something or don't have a skill. This is a deeply embodied belief that is like your survival is tied to it. That's why it's so hard to overcome. The Pareto principle is great about this 80-20 rule. Oh yeah, and another rule that Catherine brought up is I need to get promoted to show that I'm capable or have progressed in my career. Yes, interesting. So I think that we need to get external signals to get, to advance in our career is, I mean, it's not mysterious where that belief came from, right? It makes total sense that well, if you get a promotion, then you'll be seen as more successful. I mean, it's not totally untrue, right? The question is, what happens when you've been doing everything right and you're really unhappy, right? So really what the heart of the session is about is daring to imagine something a little bit different, something a little bit unconventional, and validating that sense of success internally. Let me see, am I missing any other? Yeah, Tiffany, stop giving a fuck about what other people think. So actually, I can't believe I forgot to say this at the very beginning. This is a really important point, actually. Like, to some extent, yes. I do think that unfuckwithability is a beautiful way to achieve what we call equanimity in FEMS. It's sort of it doesn't mean that you're free of discomfort, free of challenges, free of difficult emotions, but you're connected to the long game. You're really centered. You believe deeply in your ability to overcome things. Equanimity is sort of the way that we describe that state. And so, yes, to some degree, we can't be so dependent on what other people think of us, but also this is where it gets complicated. We are social animals. And actually, this is really the point that I want to lay down here as today's big idea, that before we get into talking about values and vision. We will never just disabuse ourselves of a desire to be approved, to gain the approval of other people, or of the powers that be, or our culture that we're operating in. We're social animals. It's actually pretty unnatural, and has a ton of downside to totally just be deaf or not need any external validation whatsoever, right? We're not actually here to remove or quash or that natural desire for external validation and approval and acceptance, right? It's actually really important for our survival that we get that, right? Hopefully that makes an intuitive sense. What we're here to do, and this is really the big idea for both today and that we'll continue to practice over the next couple of days, is the idea that we're cultivating a desire in equal measure for our own internal validation. Right? So we seek and desire external validation, but most of us, what we actually have ended up with is a kind of underdeveloped muscle around the same desire, like the burning need for our own internal validation. And that's how we end up getting promotions, getting advancements where we're like, I thought that this would make me happy and it doesn't. Right? Because we've never actually even asked ourselves what it is why it is that we're accomplishing what we're accomplishing. We just think it's the right thing to do. So this is where we get to engage a little bit of our creativity and imagination. And the spoiler alert that I really hope you guys stick around through Thursday on is that the way that we cultivate internal validation is through pleasure. So I'll just leave that as a little dangling hint to hopefully intrigue you guys. This gets to feel good. And that's really the thing I want you to take away from this. So, okay, so here we are. Oh, great. We're cultivating internal validation. We're supposed to enjoy the journey. Cool, right? This is kind of a cliche, but I guess it's a better cliche than she got promoted to the highest level and was still miserable, right? So let's go with a better cliche here than that one. So where do we start, right? Part of what's challenging about this is that when I sit you down and I'm like, okay, everyone here, come up with your vision statement, right? Everything you desire, write it down in a way that's so inspirational and so articulate. It's usually you'll probably just freeze up if you're most people I work with. So we tend to not start there. The place that we start is with our values, and I'll get into that in just a second. But before we get into that, I kind of want to ask, what is the problem with lacking a vision? Maybe you guys have experienced this in your own life. Maybe you're feeling really uninspired right now. or maybe you have worked at a company that kind of has either a vision that's like doesn't exist, or it's like kind of BS and nobody's really orienting towards it, right? So you get the highest paid person's opinion that wins. It's amazing, Nicole. No direction, no grounding, right? If we don't have a somewhat abstract, inspirational North Star, then everyone's rowing in different directions, right? Tiffany, your decisions are based on others and society's expectations, and eventually it leads to resentment about what you're doing. And we see this happening in our own lives as well as at companies, right? I really like, this is the amazing thing about this content you're learning today, is that we use it both in our roles as product leaders as well as in our own lives, right? Lack of confidence and relying on external validation, of course, because there's just nothing anchoring, nothing grounding. And so the visual storytelling framework, one of several that we use to anchor our work in FEMS and our development as product leaders, can be summed up with this handy little infographic. Hopefully everyone can see this. The vision, as you might notice, is the head of this pyramid. If we cut off the vision, everything else loses context, right? Suddenly the mission, the goals, the strategy, the tactics and projects that we do every day, like none of them have the why answered. Right? So this is the vision allows us to put everything that we do in context. And so just, what we do when we take this a little deeper in Fearless Femmes is when we come up with our vision first, and then our goals are pretty easy, right? When we have a good, really powerful understanding of where it is that we're headed, all we got to do is look at the gaps between where we are now and that end state and just, pick something that represents progress towards that vision. So goals become really easy. But when you lack a vision, how do you pick goals, right? Really challenging to do that. So again, what happens when you lack an authentic vision? You just lose your grounding, you lose your focus. You kind of, when you lose your why, it's kind of like this hamster wheel version of getting promoted. Like that's what the rat race feels like. Right? And that's why there's such a deep lack of satisfaction in the progress that you do make, because there's no real vision behind it. So again, just to kind of recap here why a vision matters, it really anchors your why, and it releases you from what I like to call local problems and concerns, right? Like, oh, the obstacles, like, well, I don't have time to do this, or well, this is going to be hard, or oh, there's so many logistics to make that happen. It's like, yeah, but it's worth it, right? If I want to get from one point of the room to the other, it's really important to do that. Yeah, I'm going to have to back this chair up and walk around the couch and open that door, right? There's logistics to actually make it happen, but it's worth it because of the why at the end. This is a really fundamental teaching in FEMS, is that all of our goals are just logistics, including, by the way, all of the systemic obstacles that we have to overcome, depending on how many intersections we carry as people. Like, yeah, there is a pain in the ass about systemic injustice and unequal pay and being treated differently, right? Systemic bias that makes it harder to get from point A to point B. It's still just logistics at the end of the day, right? We have to conserve our energy really, really ruthlessly, but at the end of the day, it still has a simplicity of being logistical. So we just have to make sure that we're resourced and supported in it. So just making sure everyone's in here. Perfect. So, okay, great. We're supposed to oh, Sarah, sorry, you raised your hand. Did you have a question? Or were you just like, hell yeah?
Oh, no, that was, sorry, from a little bit ago. Nope.
Oh, cool. Oh, do you have a question? Sorry, did I miss you?
That's fine. When you asked about the rules that I want to break, it's conformity. Sort of globally, especially around this perceived idea of what time, like your time boundaries of when you're supposed to be available and in the seat.
Yes.
That one just feels, I really don't like that one.
Yep. Amen to that. I think anyone relate to that one, this idea that you're behind, right? This is probably one of the most pervasive and upsetting beliefs that people come into FEMS with as one of their starting points that we get to bust through and really come out the other side of. This idea that everyone's making it up as we go, and it can be this creative, generative, curious process that's, using our pleasure as a compass, right? That's a really, really powerful one. I love that. So, great. We're enjoying the journey. where do we start? How do we get going on this endeavor of writing a vision statement that answers the question of why get up in the morning? Why go through, frankly, like product management can be kind of a pain in the ass, right? Just like even on our good days, it can be, it's complicated, challenging, lots of puzzles to solve, lots of humanity that's messy to navigate, right? So like what gets us up in the morning for it? Well, your values are the answer, right? So I'm going to send this little link in the chat. This is just like a really beautiful, diverse list of values that Brene Brown makes available as a resource. So the link's there in your chat. You can check it out. You can download it, all of that, but the list is there in the link. I want you all, just because we're doing the quick and dirty version today, before we break off into our pairs to author the vision statement, pick 3 that jump out at you right now. Check out that list. And maybe this also will give you a little bit of a guide, depending on what's jumping out at you today, right? It might not be all your values, especially not all your core values. This also will be a handy guide to answer the question we're going to answer at the end of the session about what you're optimizing for right now. Really, really powerful question. A lot of you might say, I don't know what I'm optimizing for right now. Really, really common, right? So I want you to pick 3 and just hold those in your mind. Maybe jot them down if you want, because we're going to come back to these in just a minute when we break up. I'm going to run through the 3 basic components of writing a really good vision statement. It's not complicated. That's the great news. So here we are. Pay attention. Maybe jot these down because I'll copy paste them into the chat, but you'll want to have them handy when you're authoring your statement. The components of a good vision statement are, for our purposes today, it speaks in the present tense. So I like to start my vision statements with, imagine a world where this is true and that is true, and I have this and this exists, right? You're really bringing this future-ish abstract thing into the present and really feeling into it. It really kind of amps up the power of the statement. Number 2, it's big, aspirational, and abstract. What this means, and for all the planners and the crowd, like of which I am one, this might be actually hard to remove metrics from it. Like I have $1 million in the bank, or I have a 4-bedroom house and a VP title at Google, right? Really constricting, right? Not to say that those are bad goals or bad outcomes or the wrong things to focus on. Like, no, they're all amazing. But the cool part about a vision statement is there can be a bunch of different ways to skin this cat, where you say, perhaps instead, and I'll give examples in a minute, I have a role where I am able to manage a team and grow people's careers, right? Bunch of different ways. Maybe you're at Google, maybe you're not, right? You can find satisfaction in a bunch of different ways when we remove metrics from this level, right? Of course, with goals, we have metrics. With a vision, we don't. And number 3, it helps you operationalize specific core values. And what I mean by this is for those values that you just picked, that jumped out at you, when your world is perfect for you, how are those values showing up? How are you honoring them? How are you living into them every day? Really, this is what this vision statement does. It's going to paint a picture of how those values are showing up in your life. Really, really powerful to help you kind of then create all of the projects and strategies to live into those values more deeply and operationalize them in your life. Any questions about these? This is really it. Wait, did I? Number 4, it's durable on a 10-year time horizon. This is like a rough guideline. Just to kind of like get you thinking a little bit beyond like job title or company that you're working for, right? It kind of helps you keep it a little more abstract. This is not a 10-year plan, by the way. It is just keeping you something that's going to be durable, right? Again, like a job title, inherently not durable. You want to like get it and then move on to the next title, right? But this is about what you have that's really important to you, that's going to help guide your decisions at multiple levels as you ascend. And then number 5, it's holistic. We're never just talking about our careers because, hey, we can't. That's not how that works. So do make this holistic. So I'm going to break you up into pairs now. And just a couple examples to sort of seed this for you. Imagine a world where I have the flexibility to go on several vacations a year. I have a home that comfortably fits a growing family. I'm learning, growing, and challenging myself, recognized for my work, and valued by people at work. I have enough money to retire early, which makes me feel secure every day. These are real vision statements from FEMS, shared with permission, of course. Very different flavor here for this one. My marriage is central to my life and I have plenty of time to work on it and spend one-on-one time together. I'm active in my arts collective, connected to the support of that community, and I make enough money to live comfortably and support myself while having plenty of spare time. Very different flavor, right? And this one's sort of a third example, very, very work focused, right? Work is my main creative outlet. My family time is sacred, but my main role is breadwinner. All of these things are such beautiful, unique, customized to the individuals who wrote them. Right? And each of these things makes them happy. None of them are going to work perfectly for you. So, all right. So I am going to break folks up into pairs. Aishwarya, good luck on your presentation. We're going to do this pretty quick and dirty. So we're going to have folks go through their 3 values. Try to be really, this is kind of the trick to it. Don't think about it too hard. I want you coming up with, imagine a world where I have connection in my perfect way. What does that look like? That's what you're going to be authoring together. So I'm going to give everyone 4 minutes each. Do a little quick meet and greet and then try to get right into your values. So we'll spend the next 8 minutes doing that and I'll cue you to switch. So again, the instructions here, take those 3 values, and in pairs, take turns completing the sentence. In a perfect world, value X shows up as blank, and then repeat for each value. So again, we're going to be quick and dirty here. It's going to feel really, really fast, but that's on purpose. So I'm going to stop my share here, divide you guys up, and then when we come back, we have one key question. That's one of the most important things you're going to ask yourself, and we'll knock that out to close. All right. All right, some of you will have 3. All right, see you guys in a minute. I'll copy paste these into the chat. Hey Siri, set a timer for 4 minutes. Zoom recording. Yes, no, you are ready to go. Hi. How was it?
Oh, it was fine. I think I tried to put in the chat, but I don't know if you saw it. We didn't have the template, the statement to kind of make sure we.
Oh, weird. Oh, that's I put it in the chat. I thought. Did it not go to everybody?
I don't think so.
Oh, boo. Let's see. Well, it's showing up. Yeah, it's weird. It's showing up. Anyway, I also realized that some folks were in groups of 3 and didn't have quite probably the opportunity to go as deep as they wanted, but hopefully everyone got one value operationalized and authored for themselves. Even if you didn't, no worries. This is the cool part about having the opportunity to really go a lot deeper over a little bit of a longer time horizon together this week. You will have chance, and this is actually your homework, should you choose to accept it. I really want to invite everybody to, oh, hang on, I'll wait till everyone gets back and then, then announce this. Probably was better idea. Cool. I think everyone's back. So yes, thanks for letting me know, Rhonda. Basically, the homework for everybody, since I'm sure that this felt kind of rushed and a little bit stressful, but that totally was the point. Just getting like pen to paper is usually the hardest part of this, and hopefully everyone got at least one value down. Your homework for tonight, if you would like to take this a little bit deeper, go ahead and finish up writing the operational, like what each of your 3 values looks like when your world is perfect, and go ahead and flesh it out a little bit. Like once you have those 3 values down, it's a very workable vision statement. No need to like pressure yourself to do more if you don't want to. It's still very valuable, but like think about like if you were to just kind of ride this wave, ride this momentum just a little bit to flesh out a vision statement that's even more comprehensive, really kind of paints this beautiful, slightly abstract picture in the present tense. I'll send everybody the guidelines for a good vision statement again, and see if you can land with something that feels really good and really at home as a vision for you, that really gives this picture of what we're looking for in a life and career. And then tomorrow. It's my favorite stuff to teach. I really, really hope you guys come tomorrow because I'll be even more, you think I'm stoked today. Tomorrow I will be even more stoked. It's just my favorite thing in the world to teach. It's probably not the most like, no, day 4 is probably the most important set of material that we do. But like tomorrow is like, when I learned it, I felt better immediately. And I'm pretty sure most of you really actually love your jobs. You just want them to feel better, right? And so we take that really literally and we go into the body tomorrow, and we're going to ask this question, do a little reflection on the vision statements that you created, and ask what might be standing in the way of you just with ease and gusto and creativity going about making those visions a reality. So that's where we're going to start tomorrow, same time. I really, really hope you can make it. If not, just, I'll be recording it as well, and I'll send it out to everybody. So please, if you make it to as many sessions as you can this week. If not, of course, you can get the recording. But I am just insanely grateful that you all took even this hour out of your day. I have a few more minutes to hang out if anyone has any questions. So, but of course, I know everyone's super busy, so please feel free to drop off now, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
A nice little dose of
Thanks so much, Becca.
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'll stick around in case anyone has questions.
Hey, one question. Can we share any of the learnings from this workshop on our LinkedIn?
Yeah, definitely. Oh my God, that would be awesome. Feel free to tag me if you want me to like it.
Yeah, I will.
More is more. Obviously, like I am just absolutely on fire. It took me a little while to get started this year. I don't know if anyone their engine took a while to turn over, getting going this year. I've shared this with a few of you, but man, like I just want this material. Truly, it's just changed so many people's lives, and I want everyone to have access to it. And it's so much fun to learn and to do it together in community. Like, so yes, share far and wide. I want everyone experiencing this impact. That's what matters. And then, again, every time, like the whole frame behind this, and we'll get more into this tomorrow, like as we rise in influence, we get to use that influence to make more just and equitable workplaces for everybody. This is why thinking about in terms of desire and thinking about in terms of what stress on our bodies, all of that is wrapped up in systemic inequality and injustice and bias and like burnout culture. I mean, it's all so nuanced, and so it also gives this really important frame on our careers, I think, more light in service of equity and equality. So yes. Yes, and of course I will be. I think I'll be sharing details, especially on day 3. I'll sort of ask permission to, if anyone's interested in the group, to hear more about the Fearless Femmes program. Totally optional. I'll offer the option for that on day 3. But obviously, if you have questions about it, just ping me. Obviously, we're accepting applications all the time, and it's an amazing group. And every meeting is like kind of like this, a sort of combo of structured material and people who would like share vulnerably and receive coaching and support each other with the wisdom of the crowd in these types of environments. So feel free to ping me anytime, and I'll send you all the details. Awesome. All right. Any other questions? If not, if you think of any, you know where to find me. Awesome, but hopefully I'll see everybody tomorrow too, and have a great start to your week. All right, see everybody later. See you tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.